Hi, everybody. We're going to do today, this video, problem number 76 on section 1.1. So cosine theta x, so cosine theta is the coefficient, x and y are the variables here, and we're going to want to solve for x and y. Anyway, cosine theta x plus sine theta y equals 1, negative sine theta x plus cosine theta y times y, I should say, equals 1. So remember, it's not cosine of x, it's cosine theta times x. So that's why they put the parentheses there. When I write this on my paper, I'm not going to bother with parentheses just because they're like annoying. But that's what it means. Anyway, let me switch to my paper here. Okay, here we go. So let's do this thing. So what I want to do again, my strategy, and this is different than the way you did it in high school. And by the way, I just want to point out again, there's nothing wrong with the way you would solve this in high school. In fact, we actually had an equation like this in the differential equations class. We multiplied the top equation by sine x, or multiplied the equation by cosine x. You get the cancel, blah blah blah, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. But we're not going to do it that way here because I want to develop a technique that's going to be used over and over and over again in linear algebra, and that's where we turn that left hand corner into a zero. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I want to add equation one onto equation two, and that's going to become my new equation two. But that's just equation one as it is. I'm going to take a multiple of equation one. So if I take equation one and I multiply the sine theta over cosine, I multiply that by equation one, and I add that on to equation two, that's going to become a new equation two. Now the reason I'm doing that is because what's going to happen is that cosine is just sine. So sine theta, so sine times sine is sine squared over cosine. I'm taking sine squared over cosine, taking that onto cosine. Now sine squared over cosine. Let's see, how do we say this? Sine squared over cosine plus cosine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make squared over cosine. And then when I combine them, cosine squared equals 1, so I get, so I'm left 1 over cosine theta times y. That's going to be my second equation. But I added um, I added sine over cosine to that one that was already there. So I have 1 plus sine theta over sine theta. Unscathed and a bit more. So cosine theta x plus sine theta y equals 1. And again, it's sine theta no, times y. I really should put parentheses around the sine theta, but I didn't. Anyways, let's do this thing. So right away we're going to solve. Now we're not done. I want to take equation two, two by cosine theta. Cosine theta times equation two. And similarly, may as well do the thing. So um, I'm going to take divide that by uh, one over cosine. Oh, notice. Yeah, doesn't really matter. I just want to keep it simple. Uh, 1 over cosine times one is going to become my new equation. One. This way, equation one and equation two is just going to start with one y. That's kind of a nice way to do things. So when I multiply x plus sine theta over cosine theta y equals 1 over cosine. My bottom equation, y equals plus r. Right away, I have my first solution, that y is equal to cosine theta plus sine theta. And now, the technique we use is that once I solve for y, I'm going to plug it into the top equation. So x plus sine theta over cosine theta times cosine theta plus sine theta equals, where are we here? 1 over cosine theta. Now notice that I didn't, not multiplying across the board by sine over cosine. I'm just taking the y and sticking it in there. Well, let's simple. So let's first of all, let me just distribute this a little bit. Sine over cosine times cosine is just sine, and sine over theta. That's and here we have sine squared theta over cosine theta. That equals 1 over cosine theta. That's x. And now I'm just going to bring everything over to the other side. So I have, let's see, let me write up here. So I'm going to say x is equal to, let's see here. Well, I have 1 minus cosine squared theta over cosine theta. And then minus, when I bring this to the other side, minus sine theta. But this is cosine, but one, I'm sorry, 1 minus sine squared. Sorry about that. Well, 1 minus sine squared theta. I bring the sine squared theta over the other side. 1 minus sine squared is equal to cosine squared. And that further reduces just to cosine theta. And there's our solution. X is equal to x is equal to cosine theta minus sine theta. Y is equal to cosine theta plus sine theta. And let's check this. Well, I always like checking. I'm sure you all know by now that I love checking these things. So let's check this. Okay, so I'm going to the original equation now. Going back to the original equation, cosine theta times x times cosine theta minus sine theta. That should be a y, by the way. This whole time it was an x. It's supposed to be a y. Sorry about that. I'm supposed to be a y this whole time. I didn't even notice it. Anyway, but I'm not doing this whole video over just for that. So that's x plus sine theta times y, and y was cosine theta plus sine theta. And this is supposed to equal 1. Let's see if that's really true. Well, here I have cosine squared theta. Let's distribute now. Cosine squared theta minus cosine theta sine theta plus sine theta cosine theta plus sine squared theta. Well, the minus and plus are the same thing. Cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. So I get 1 equals 1. Check. So the top equation worked. Now let's look at the next equation. Negative sine x, negative sine theta times x. Now, so negative sine theta, that's negative sine theta, negative sine theta times x, which is cosine theta minus sine theta, plus cosine theta times y, which is cosine theta plus sine theta. Supposed to equal 1. Let's see if that actually happens. Let's see if that actually happens here. And by the way, you could all be pausing this and doing yourself, or you're gonna have to do whatever you want. I don't care. So we have here negative sine theta cosine theta plus sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta plus cosine theta sine theta. And again, I have a minus sine theta. I have plus and minus of the same thing. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So 1 equals 1, check. This whole thing all worked out beautifully. And that is the story. This is that's the whole story. It's the first page, and that's the check. That's the checking page. Okay, everybody. Well, it's been loads of fun, and we'll see you on the next video, I guess.